What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who classic review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 4th Doctor Tom Baker story, The Horns of Nimon. Now before we get started, sorry if you can hear my dog in the background. He's back just behind me playing with his ball, and he does tend to growl and grumble sometimes, so if you hear a weird noise in the background, it is my dog. But anyway, The Horns of Nimon. So this is an interesting one. It's one that I've heard not great things about, to be completely honest. I wanted to give it a chance, of course, but yeah, I was going into this one kind of not expecting the most from it. So anyway, let's have a look at the back of the DVD. This is The Horns of Nimon by Anthony Reed. When the TARDIS collides with a spaceship en route to the planet Skonos, the Doctor, Romana and K9 soon uncover the horrific truth about its cargo. The ship is carrying young sacrifices for a powerful, horned creature called the Nimon. But why is the creature so desperate for the delivery, and what other dangers await the time travelers? All will be revealed at the center of the Labyrinth Power Complex on Skonos. So that's the back of the DVD there. A fairly basic sort of plot. You know, the Doctor and co land on this spaceship. They find out what's going on here. There's these creatures, there's these other people which are kind of sacrifices for these creatures, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And yeah, there's some other stuff going on here, some other kind of factions and groups. So yeah, let's start off with the cast. Firstly, Tom Baker as the 4th Doctor. This is another one. I think this is actually the final episode that you'll be seeing that I'm doing my review of quite a while after watching the episode. So after this, I will have better points and stuff, and I'll be watching them and doing the reviews quite, close to each other. But from what I remember of watching this one a few months ago, Tom Baker's fine in this one. It's season 17, I think, Horns of Nimon. Yeah, it would be. And yeah, he's pretty fine enough here. Also, Lala Ward as Romana is also very good here as well. Not really much else to say. She's good in this role. And then K9 also fine. There are some other characters here that are not acted particularly well, but we'll talk about that soon. So let's get started with some points about this episode. Soldeed is acted in a very cringy way, so we're just going to get straight into the bad acting. Now, I haven't got up the name of the people acting in this story other than, Tom Baker and Lala Ward. I don't know who plays Soldeed. Basically, if you look at the cover, I mean, you'll see it on what you're currently seeing on your screen now. The guy in the middle is, like above K9 at the top of the triangle. That's Soldeed, and he's the other evil guy in this story, along with the Nimon. He's kind of working with the Nimon in this story, and yeah, he is very cringy. I mean, I think it's partly the way he's written. Like, his lines and stuff are very over the top, but I think it's also the way he acts, and I don't know if it's the actor I don't know if he's been told to act this way, but he is really cringy, like one of the cringiest acts, one of the cringiest performances in Doctor Who, to be honest. It's really quite crazy, like how he's like, the Nimon, and the way he says stuff like that, and it's really, really weird, cringy, bad acting. Definitely takes you out of it. It's very pantomime-esque, and I'm not a big fan of pantomime, to be honest. I don't even really, I'm trying to think of a time when it can actually be good, but on the most part, pantomime in Doctor Who, I just don't love when it's here, and it's very much that here for me. It's very over the top. His acting's not good. The character's just written that way as well, I think, which doesn't help. And yeah, that's a little bit off-putting. Now, the Nimon themselves, I think they look pretty meh, but their movements especially are very strange. So the actual look of the Nimon is okay. I mean, they're kind of just these horned beast sort of characters, kind of similar to, I guess, what's it called? In the 11th Doctor episode, the God Complex, the Minotaur. They look fairly similar to the Minotaur, I guess, in a way, but obviously, this will be the 80s, will it? Or the late 70s? 80s. Oh, actually, no. I've just looked at the back of the DVD. This episode literally went from the end of 79 to the beginning of 1980. So this would have been recorded in the 70s. yeah, they don't look great. But the main issue I have with them, I think I could look past it with, you know, the time it was made and everything, but it's their movements. Like, they move around kind of with their arms, like, outside, like, they just look like lumbering people in suits. You know, the typical, oh, I don't have a lot of movement with my arms and stuff, and they just look a bit, but then it's also the way when, basically, to kill people, they kind of bend over and start shooting, like, a ray sort of beam thing from their horns, and as they're doing that, they kind of like, I don't know how to, they kind of like swivel, I guess. I don't know, they kind of like jig around. I don't really know how to say it, but they just kind of move at their hips and just bend over, and it looks very, very strange. Yeah, this was definitely an episode where I think they were, it was a more silly episode in a lot of ways. You know, if I just thought, oh yeah, maybe it's just the acting, it's just that one character, but the fact that the Nimon do this silly little swivel thing as well, I think they were trying to go for a little bit of cringe with this one. If they weren't, then I don't know what they were thinking. But yeah, all in all, the Nimon, they look fine, but the way they move and just that whole, the killing, swiveling thing, it's just very weird. The Nimon have promised to rebuild the Skonan Empire if Soldeed gives them sacrifices of people from a nearby planet. So yeah, basically Soldeed is kind of the leader of this Skonan Empire. Apparently they're way past their prime, and the Nimon have come to their planet or wherever they are, and they've basically come to Soldeed and said, look, if you'll give us all these people from a nearby planet, I think it's called Aneth or something, Aneth, I don't know how to pronounce it, something like that. If you give us people from there, young people for some reason, and as sacrifices, then we will, you know, rebuild your empire and get you back to the glory days. So that's kind of the big plot here of what's going on. It's kind of a team up between Nimon and the Skonan Empire, but mainly just Soldeed, really. So that's an interesting concept. It's a very overused concept, you know, of one character or one kind of group of people working with another, usually an alien of some sort, monster, and in the end not really working out, which we will get to. It's very overused nowadays, even for that time. I think quite overused. There's quite a lot of stuff with the Master in like the Third Doctor era, where he'd be working with the monster of the episode, and in the end it wouldn't work out because they were kind of tricking each other, and quite overused even by this point. So yeah, not the most imaginative concept. K9 is taken by Soldeed to be examined. So I thought this was an interesting little thing. Basically, K9 comes out, tries to, I don't know, distract Soldeed or whatever, but Soldeed manages to kind of stop him, basically shuts him down, takes him, does a little bit of examination work on K9, ultimately doesn't really, you know, lead to anything. It's actually a little bit of a funny scene from what I remember, where he's like, oh, he's really interested by this robot, but he's also, from what I remember, a little bit like scared and, you know, a bit puzzled by it. It's a nice little scene, but ultimately doesn't really come of much in the end. It's just nice to have, you know, K9 kind of separate from the Doctor and Romana for a bit, you know, taken away by the villain of the episode. Romana finds Sesam on the planet Krinoth, who helped the Nimon on his planet, but they destroyed it. So this is the thing where Romana goes into like this teleporty type thing, gets sent to this planet Krinoth. She finds this guy Sesam, and he basically says that, and he's like really old, decrepit, and pretty much on the brink of dying at this point. And he's like, many years ago, I helped the Nimon, just like Soldeed is doing now. He helped the Nimon because the Nimon said that that they were going to help him out and help his planet, and in the end they just ended up destroying his whole planet, and he's the only one left. So kind of a little bit of a foreshadowing thing of, okay, this is what the Nimon are doing, you know, this is what is happening with Soldeed and the Skonan Empire as well. So I like that part as well. Sesam ends up dying because he basically saves Romana in the end, kind of backs her up when the Nimon are coming after them. And yeah, it's a nice little thing there to have that in. You know, this kind of thing from the past of what the Nimon did then, so then you can link it up to what's happening now. Soldeed finds out the Nimon have been using him this whole time, so not long after that, Soldeed then figures it out. From what I remember, he only knew about 1 or 2 Nimon. He only thought there was 1 or 2 of them. He then, I think from what I remember, you know, sorry if I'm getting this wrong because it's been a while since I watched this, but from what I remember, he finds more Nimon, finds out that there's actually more than they said there were, and yeah, basically puzzles it all, you know, puts it all together, and he's not very happy about that. And that's really that in the end. There's not really a whole lot I have to talk about here, once again because it's been a while since I watched it, but also because this episode was not amazing. The last point I've put here is that there was some awful acting and a fairly uninspiring story make this one not very good. So it's not absolutely awful, but it's not great. I think the plot is fine, but nothing to write home about. And the bad acting and the weird movements of the Nimon do bring this one down a bit. So a rating for the Horns of Nimon, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I don't think it's awful. It's only 4 parts long, so I don't remember it being too slow, to be honest. There's a decent amount going on throughout the whole thing, but yeah, cringy acting, not a great monster, and just generally an okay plot it's just not inspiring. It's very uninspired. It's not particularly, you know, unique in a lot of ways. Yeah, gives it a 5 out of 10 for me. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.